welcome back to the Book Cave with me, Jenny. So today I'm going to be doing my October wrap-up, and yeah, I'll just jump right into that. I read book 1 in the Mead Mishap series, and that is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, and it was pretty fun. One thing that did bother me a little bit was that there was a ton of modern slang, and it just didn't quite fit. I feel like it would have fit more if it would have been in a more modern setting instead of a more kind of like village-ish setting. But that kind of went away after the first chapter or two, and it was still modern day speak, but there wasn't as much like, this is the slang from, like, 2020. It was just kind of like, this is our normal everyday talk without much slang. And yeah, the other thing that did bother me a little bit was I felt like Fallon, I think is how you say his name, was a little bit too violent at times. You have several instances, and then the first one kind of didn't bother me too much because, demons is kind of the survival of the strongest, and they haven't really interacted with humans in a while. So that one I could kind of write off as that. But then it did continue, and then the whole scene with the one city, I felt like he was a little out of place there because he endangered other demons. And yeah, it was just kind of a eh. But overall, I did enjoy it. I did think it was pretty fun. It definitely, obviously, has violence. It does have a good bit of spice and a good bit of language. So it's definitely, firmly in the adult. And I kind of like the fact that it's in adult and it's not overly like new adult, where the characters are super young and they just feel even younger, even though they are doing, obviously, adult things with everything. But yeah, overall, it was fun enough if you like, a simple, fun fantasy with a pretty heavy emphasis on romance, then I think you would probably enjoy this series. However, if you tend to nitpick a lot and like certain things really bother you when like characters just feel like they're out of character or anything like that, yeah, you might not enjoy this as much. I was able to just kind of overlook that and just go with the flow. So yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, but I do feel like it's fun, and I do have hopes that the next 2 books in the series will be better in that respect, as this is a debut. So yeah, it definitely has a lot of good things in it, and yeah, so I hope if you pick it up you enjoy it, and if you did enjoy it, I would definitely say to pick up the other 2, as they're basically interconnected standalones, so you get to revisit characters that you've met in this book and get more depth to those side characters in those other books. I Am Not Starfire follows Starfire's daughter Mandy through part of her senior year of high school, and I feel like it deals with a lot of things that young adults would be, such as, parental expectations and the expectations that school puts on them to, go to college and such. Because Mandy walks out on her SATs, and obviously that would prevent her from going to college. And everybody is like, you have to go to college. And she says, why? And while I can kind of agree with this, I do feel like there is a need for some sort of further education. And I feel like it could have been dealt with a little differently, that, she decided that no, I don't want to go to college, but I want to apprentice to be, something like a welder, a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, anything like that. That is, you still need skills and there's still further education, but it's just not a typical college education. However, that being said, the whole fact that she's unsure of what she wants to do, I feel like is very relatable. And I really did enjoy her, learning about herself and kind of coming to terms with being the daughter of a superhero and all of that. I was not the biggest fan of the art, at least at parts. I felt like there was a lot of times that the girls were drawn with like mascara running where it didn't really make sense. And I felt like some scenes were just a little awkwardly drawn perspective wise. However, I did like the choice of very bold and vibrant colors throughout. I know quite a few of these DC young adult and even the middle grade novels tend to be just monochrome or, possibly two-toned. And so I did like the fact that this was in full color and everything. And I feel like had I read this when I was closer to the young adult crowd, that it probably would have been more of a hit. But that being said, like I said, I did enjoy it well enough. And I do recommend any of the YA DC comics for any comic fans. And more so especially like if you like Starfire, to read this one. And, with all the others, if you like that particular character, to read that particular graphic novel. Is just a different take on that character. You Brought Me the Ocean is another DC YA graphic novel, and this centers on Aqualad Jake Hyde. And in this particular graphic novel, he is not actually Aqualad as of yet. This is a coming of age story, and it does a very good job with that, I feel like. It deals with a lot of different things and like learning about yourself and things like that. And I did like the fact that they kept his backstory the same in this graphic novel as it is in canon, with his parentage and all. And then I did think that the romance between him and Kenny was pretty sweet and realistic. Realistic depiction of like first love and the questions that could come with that. So yeah, I do definitely recommend this if you like the coming of age stories. If you've liked the other DCYAs, I feel like this is definitely a good addition. And I do feel like even if you haven't read any DCYAs, I feel like this would be a good one to start with, as like I said, it does stick to canon a good bit. So I finally finished Dr. Stone, And this is a 26-volume manga series that follows a teenager named Senku, and it follows him after the whole world is petrified, turned into stone, and he comes awake 3,700 years later and decides that since he loves science, he is going to recreate a scientific civilization, and basically follows him doing that and solving why was everybody petrified. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed this series. The ending, I felt like, had one big glaring plot hole in it, in regards to the Y-Men. But other than that, I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed the way, like, the science was explored and kind of mapped out. And I felt like a lot of it was really in depth, but some of it felt like, okay, these are teenagers who are like 17, I believe, when it starts, and then they're like 19. I think they go up to 19, and then they're like maybe late 20s by the end. I'm not entirely sure of the timeline. That's another quibble I have, because at one point it stated that 10 years passed, but because of some other things that happened, did they age 10 years? And yeah, I'm not going to say any more about that because of spoilers. You can probably figure it out if you've read any of the manga. But yeah, overall, this was a fun science-based manga. And if you like kind of more intellectual and, building up mangas, then I feel like you would like this. And I do recommend it. I do recommend giving it, a check if it sounds like something you would be interested in as well. So I just finished Gleam, which is, or was it Gleam or Glint? I'm sorry. It was Gleam. Okay, I was right. So, as I was saying, I just finished Gleam, which is book 3 in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. And this was, so far, the best book of the 3, in my opinion. I felt like Orin really came into her own here and, realized what she was worth, and yeah, just became a much stronger character. And I felt like the relationship with her and Slade was explored here very well, and I felt like it progressed in, a believable way. And I did enjoy seeing Midas finally get his. I was like literally screaming through about half the book, just gild him. Like, just seriously, just do it. And yeah, you just kind of see the depths of his depravity here. And yeah, that was a really satisfying end for him. And I'm definitely interested to see where the next book will take us with the new player we have in Queen Kyla, and to see what happens with Queen Melina, as well as lots and lots of other characters. So I will be starting Glow on my way into work tonight, since I have all these in audiobooks, and I will report back on that one as soon as I'm done. I finished listening to Glow, which is book 4 in the Plated Prisoner series. I've really enjoyed seeing Orin grow throughout these books, and, go from being a kind of timid girl and not seeing the truth of Midas to now finally being able to see what he really is. And yeah, this book was kind of more of a filler up until the last probably 5 or so chapters. That's when the plot for the last 2 books really comes in. However, we do get some backstory throughout the whole book, and we do also get a deepening of Slade and Orin's relationship, and I did enjoy seeing the way that, they speak to each other about things, and, seeing how they care and trust each other. I will say this is definitely a romantasy. There are plenty of spicy scenes, so it's definitely not for the younger crowd. And, I mean, for me, honestly, while I didn't mind the spicy scenes, I didn't feel like they necessarily added anything. So they are, if you want to skip them, all up to you. But yeah, overall, I did feel like the ending was very interesting, and I definitely want to see where this goes and how it all wraps up. Lady Macbeth is my second Ava Reid book, and while I didn't dislike this, I did feel like Lady Macbeth could have been a much stronger character, but then I also feel like the whole point of the book was to show how women in the past kind of had their power taken from them and twisted by others, and yet were still able to bring it back to themselves. So I feel like if you like Ava Reid, then you'll probably like this. And if you like the play Macbeth, you may or may not like this, because there are some things that were definitely changed, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about those. So yeah, overall this was kind of a mixed bag for me, but I didn't dislike it. So that's everything I read in October. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button to be notified every time I post something new. And I'll have my bookish Discord linked down below. I will see you next time in the book cave.